When you look at the ocean from the shore, it seems peaceful. You see waves rolling in and out. You see sunlight sparkling on the surface. You see boats drifting quietly. It feels calm, familiar, and safe. But what you see is only the very top of something far larger, darker, and more mysterious than almost anything else on Earth. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, and most of it is a place humans have never seen. The ocean is not just wide, it is deep, much deeper than your mind expects. If you dive into a swimming pool, you can touch the bottom easily. If you dive into a lake, the bottom feels far away. But the ocean is so deep in some places that if you dropped Mount Everest inside it, the top of the mountain would still be underwater. The deepest parts of the ocean are darker than space and more unexplored than the surface of the moon. When you stand on the beach, the water beneath you may only be a few meters deep. Fish swim easily. Sunlight reaches the bottom. Colors shine brightly. But if you travel far away from shore, the water becomes deeper. It becomes darker. Light fades. Pressure increases. Strange creatures appear. The deeper you go, the more the ocean feels like another world. The ocean has layers, just like the atmosphere above Earth. Each layer has its own temperature, its own pressure, its own animals, and its own mysteries. At the top is a world full of light and life. Below that is a quiet, dim zone where sunlight begins to disappear. Below that is a world of complete darkness where animals glow like stars. And far beneath all of that is the abyss, a place so deep and so dark that only a handful of machines have ever reached it. Most of the ocean has never been explored, not by divers, not by submarines, not by robots. We know more about distant planets than we know about the deepest parts of Earth's water. That is how enormous and mysterious the ocean truly is. The story of the ocean's depth is a journey from light to darkness, from warmth to cold, from calm waves to crushing pressure. It is a journey into a world where ordinary rules fade and strange, beautiful creatures take their place. It is a journey into a part of Earth that feels ancient, silent, and endlessly deep. To understand just how deep the ocean really is, you must travel through its layers, step by step, from the bright surface where sunlight dances to the dark trenches where life survives against impossible odds. This is where our journey begins, at the surface, where the light still touches the waves. Soon, we will travel down into the Sunlit Zone, the Twilight Zone, the Midnight Zone, and the deepest trenches on Earth. Only then will you understand how deep the ocean truly is. When you first enter the ocean, everything feels bright and alive. Sunlight shines through the water, turning it blue and sparkling. You can see fish swimming, plants moving with the waves, and sand swirling gently beneath you. This top layer of the ocean is called the Sunlit Zone, and it is the only part of the entire ocean where sunlight can reach in full strength. Sunlight may seem like a simple thing, but it powers almost everything in this layer. Plants use it to grow. Small creatures eat those plants. Larger creatures eat the smaller ones. The entire food chain begins with this light. Without sunlight, none of these creatures could survive. The ocean surface is like a giant floating garden, full of life and movement. The Sunlit Zone does not go very deep. It extends only about 200 meters below the surface. That may sound deep, but compared to the full depth of the ocean, it is only a thin skin. If the entire ocean were a huge, dark skyscraper, the Sunlit Zone would be the height of a single floor at the top. Everything beneath it lies in increasing darkness. In this bright layer, the pressure is still gentle. You can swim, dive, and float easily. Fish dart around without any struggle. Dolphins leap gracefully. Sea turtles glide with calm strokes. Coral reefs thrive here, creating colorful underwater cities filled with shapes and creatures that look almost magical. Many animals in the Sunlit Zone have bright colors: yellow, blue, red, purple, orange. They can be patterned, spotted, or striped. They use color to hide, to warn, to attract mates, or to blend into coral. Life in this zone depends on visibility, and the sunlight lets creatures communicate through color and movement. But even in this bright world, the ocean is deeper than you think. When you swim near the surface, you do not feel the weight of the water above you. But as you go deeper, the pressure slowly increases. It is gentle here, so gentle you barely notice it. But every meter you descend adds more force. The deeper you go, the heavier the water becomes. The sunlit zone is warm, bright, and full of energy, but it is only the beginning of the ocean's depth. Beneath this glowing layer, the light begins to fade. Colors disappear, shapes blur. Warm water gives way to cold, silent darkness. Fish begin to look stranger. Movements slow. Pressure grows. Once you leave the sunlit zone, you begin to enter the twilight zone, a place where sunlight weakens, shadows deepen, and the ocean begins to feel like another world entirely. As you leave the sunlit zone behind, the bright blue water begins to grow dim. The sunlight that once shone easily now struggles to reach you. Colors fade. Reds disappear first, then oranges, then yellows. Soon, everything becomes blue, then dark blue, then almost gray. You are entering the twilight zone, a layer of the ocean where light begins to lose its strength and darkness slowly takes its place. The twilight zone stretches from about 200 meters to 1,000 meters deep. It is a vast, silent world where sunlight is too weak for plants to grow. Without plants, there are no underwater forests, no colorful coral, and no bright reefs. The ocean becomes quieter and more mysterious. Fish that lived comfortably near the surface cannot survive here unless they adapt to the dim light and growing pressure. The creatures that live in the twilight zone often look very different from the creatures above. Some have big eyes for catching the last traces of light. Some have sleek bodies that help them move through dark water with little effort. Many creatures have silver or reflective skin, helping them blend into the dim surroundings. Others stay almost completely transparent, letting the faint light pass through them, so predators cannot see their outline. The pressure in this zone is now much stronger. You cannot feel it directly, but the animals here have evolved to handle conditions that would crush most creatures from the surface. The deeper you go, the more the water above you presses down. Every 100 meters adds another heavy layer of weight. By the time you reach the middle of the twilight zone, the pressure is dozens of times stronger than the pressure at the beach. Even though sunlight is fading, this zone is far from empty. Many creatures rise from the deep every night to feed near the surface, then sink back down again during the day. This movement is called the vertical migration, and it is the largest daily movement of life on Earth. Tiny, glowing shrimp, drifting jellyfish, long, ribbon-like fish, and countless other creatures travel up and down through this half-lit zone like silent travelers moving between worlds. But as you keep going deeper, the light becomes weaker still. The blue fades into darkness. Colors vanish completely. Shapes blur into shadows. Temperature drops. Pressure increases. The gentle movements of surface life disappear, replaced with slow, careful drifting. At the bottom of the twilight zone, sunlight disappears entirely. From here onward, the ocean becomes a place where night is permanent, a place where darkness is complete, a place where animals must create their own light or live without any. You are now approaching the midnight zone, a world where darkness rules, where pressure becomes enormous, and where life glows in ways that seem almost magical. You have now left the twilight zone behind, and the last traces of sunlight have faded completely. There is no blue glow, no dim shimmer, no soft outlines. The water around you is pure darkness, a darkness so complete that your eyes cannot adjust to it. You have entered the midnight zone, a place where sunlight has never touched and never will. This zone stretches from 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters deep. It is one of the largest environments on Earth, yet it is almost entirely unknown. The pressure here is enormous. Every meter of water above you adds weight, and in this zone, the weight becomes overwhelming. The pressure is hundreds of times stronger than the pressure at the surface. If a human body entered this zone without protection, it would be crushed instantly. Only creatures specially adapted to this world can survive here. Strangely, even though this is a place of complete darkness, the Midnight Zone is not silent or empty. Many creatures here produce their own light. This is called bioluminescence. It is one of the most beautiful and mysterious abilities found in nature. Tiny plankton glow like floating stars. Jellyfish shimmer with soft blue light. Fish flash bright colors to confuse predators. Some creatures glow to attract mates. Others glow to lure prey. In the darkest place on Earth, light becomes a secret language. The animals that live here look nothing like the creatures near the surface. Some have huge teeth for grabbing prey in the dark. Some have long, needle-like bodies built for drifting through dense water. Some have enormous eyes that are sensitive to the faintest glimmer of bioluminescence. Others have no eyes at all because there is no sunlight to see. Many creatures look strange or frightening by human standards, not because they are dangerous, but because they come from a world with completely different rules. Temperature drops sharply in the Midnight Zone. The water here is near freezing, yet life continues. Fish move slowly to save energy. Creatures drift instead of swimming quickly. Food is scarce, so animals must wait patiently for anything edible to pass by. Many creatures eat whatever they can find, even if it is unusual, because survival in this zone requires flexibility. The pressure becomes so strong that bones would break under it, yet many deep-sea creatures have soft, flexible bodies that compress without cracking. Their internal structures adapt to the enormous force around them. They do not fight the pressure. They live with it. There is no day or night here, no seasons, no weather, only permanent darkness and silent drifting. Yet life here has found ways to thrive, using glowing signals, slow movements, and incredible resilience. But the ocean does not end in the Midnight Zone. There are places deeper still. Places where pressure becomes almost unimaginable. Places where life survives through heat and fire rising from the earth itself. Below the Midnight Zone lies the abyss and the deepest trenches on the planet. This is where the ocean becomes larger than imagination. You are now leaving the Midnight Zone, drifting into a place even darker, colder, and heavier. The water around you grows thicker. The silence becomes deeper. The world feels far from anything familiar. You have entered the abyss, a region of the ocean that stretches from 4,000 meters to 6,000 meters deep. It is one of the most remote environments on Earth, a world where life survives against overwhelming forces. The abyss is enormous. It covers more of Earth's surface than all the land on the planet combined. If the entire ocean were a giant mountain, the abyss would be the long, sloping sides that lead downward into the deepest valleys. Most of the ocean floor lies here, in flat plains covered with soft mud and scattered stones. It is almost impossible to imagine how far you are from the light above. The pressure here is crushing. It is more than 500 times stronger than it is at the surface. A human would be flattened instantly. Even metal submarines must be specially designed to survive these depths. Only a few machines have ever reached this zone. The creatures that live here are soft, flexible, and adapted to survive where the weight of the world presses in from every direction. Life in the abyss moves slowly. There is very little food, and animals must wait patiently for scraps that fall from above. Dead fish, shells, tiny particles, and drifting remains from higher zones sink down like snow. Scientists call it marine snow, and it is one of the only sources of food in this deep, silent world. The creatures here eat whatever they can catch, and they often grow large to store as much energy as possible. But even the abyss is not the deepest part of the ocean. Beneath the abyss lie trenches. Long, narrow cracks in the ocean floor where tectonic plates meet and one slides beneath another. These trenches are the deepest places on Earth. They are deeper than mountains are tall. They are darker than any cave. They are so far below the surface that pressure becomes almost unimaginable. The deepest of these trenches is the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean. Inside, it lies the Challenger Deep, the deepest point ever measured on Earth. It sinks nearly 11,000 meters below the surface. If you placed Mount Everest inside the trench, the tip of the mountain would still be almost 2 kilometers underwater. At this depth, pressure is more than 1,000 times stronger than the pressure at the surface. The water is near freezing. The darkness is complete. And yet, life exists here too. Scientists have discovered small, delicate creatures living on the ocean floor, including snailfish, shrimps, and thin, ghost-like worms. These animals look fragile, but they survive where almost nothing else can. Their bodies are designed to bend, flex, and withstand the crushing force around them. In these trenches, strange things happen. Huge underwater landslides shake the ground. Volcanoes form on the ocean floor. Hot springs called hydrothermal vents release boiling water, rich in minerals, that support entire communities of life. These vents glow faintly in the darkness, surrounded by creatures that survive on chemical energy instead of sunlight. It is one of the only places on Earth where life does not depend on the sun. Standing here, at the deepest part of the ocean, you are farther from the surface than the highest airplane can fly above Earth. You are deeper than any human can swim. You are in a place that very few machines have ever reached. You are in a world that is almost totally unexplored. A world that reminds us how little we know about our own planet. The ocean is not only wide and full of life at the surface, it is deep beyond imagination. It is ancient, dark, and powerful. It holds mysteries greater than anything found on land. And even now, most of it remains unseen. You have traveled from the bright sunlight above the waves to the darkest trenches at the bottom of the world. Only one part remains: understanding what all this depth truly means and why the ocean matters so much to the planet you call home. You have traveled from the bright surface of the ocean, where sunlight dances on gentle waves, all the way down to the silent trenches where darkness is absolute and pressure is greater than anything found on land. You have moved through layers of life, layers of pressure, layers of mystery. With every step downward, the ocean has revealed a new world with new rules, new creatures, and new challenges. The most surprising truth is how little of the ocean we have actually seen. Even with all our technology, all our submarines, and all our satellites, more than 80% of the ocean remains completely unexplored. We know more about the surface of Mars than we know about the deepest places of our own planet. The ocean is not only deep in distance, it is deep in mystery. The creatures that live in these depths are reminders of how adaptable life can be. Some glow like falling stars, some drift with soft bodies shaped by pressure. Some survive near volcanic vents in complete darkness. Life continues even in places where sunlight never arrives and temperature hovers near freezing. The ocean teaches us that life is far more creative and resilient than we ever imagined. The deepest trenches remind us of Earth's power. They remind us that our planet is alive, shifting and changing beneath the waves. They remind us that beauty and strangeness often exist far from our sight, waiting in silence for anyone curious enough to explore. But the ocean also connects directly to your life. It produces much of the oxygen you breathe. It shapes the weather. It carries heat around the planet. It feeds billions of people. Even though you may never visit the deepest parts of the ocean, your life is tied to its rhythms and mysteries. To understand how deep the ocean truly is, you only need to remember this. You saw light fade to darkness. You saw colors disappear. You saw creatures glow in the blackness. You saw trenches deeper than mountains. Each layer you passed through told the same story. A story of depth, a story of pressure, a story of life surviving in silence, a story of a world beneath our world that remains mostly unknown. The ocean is more than water. It is a universe on Earth, a universe filled with life, mystery, and darkness. A universe we have barely begun to explore. And now, after traveling through its layers, you understand why the ocean feels endless. It is not only wide, it is deep beyond imagination, and most of it is still waiting in darkness, undiscovered.